Hi everybody, this is the Baseball Hut, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the People's Champion. Your host, Hut, and welcome back to the Baseball Hut, and hopefully you like this video and subscribe. I'm trying to get to 5,000 subscribers, by the end of the year. But I'm going to talk about, in this video, the Met manager situation. Some things that sort of popped up during the week. I want to go through, just run through some of the names. We know the big name at the end, and he'll be at the end of this video. So hit that subscribe button just to find out if you don't know. I'm sure you know anyway if you're watching. But I'm going to run through some of these names. Obviously, the Mets, they fired Buck Showalter a few weeks ago. And obviously, the general manager resigned and Billy Epler. Prior to that, we thought that the Mets were going to do sort of a collaboration between David Stearns and Billy Epler. They were going to put a pool of names together. And we were going to have like a hybrid candidate. But now that's thrown out of the window now. That's thrown out the door. Kicked out. Because Epler's not here. So a lot of things are up in the air with the Mets. I would mention that during this week, the Mets fired 4 scouts. It doesn't matter who they are. Probably some Wilpon people. I would mention, do not hire any Wilpon people. Fire them all. From top to bottom. I think I've said that a few times. For this team to sort of move forward, they have to get rid of all the Wilpon people and push that. And that way, it'll push out the Wilpons from causing trouble and feeling comfortable here. We don't want them here anymore. But here are some names of candidates for the next manager of the team. And we'll run down the big candidate at the end. Just run down some different names. Joe Maddon. He obviously is the World Series manager for 2016 with the Chicago Cubs. He's currently 69 years old. He's managed in quite a few places. He started out with the Angels, then he was with the Rays. Then he was hired for Chicago with the Cubs. Then he was hired again with the Angels. Billy Epler hired him, but against his will, he didn't want to hire Maddon. At the time, Epler wanted to hire Buck Showalter. And that situation was a disaster with Maddon as manager. In fact, he was fired this year, or last year. And Phil Nevin, yeah, that's right. Phil Nevin was hired. And obviously Phil Nevin was fired this year because a total disaster, complete total collapse by the Angels. So Joe Maddon had mentioned that he's interested in the Mets job. He will not be hired, I don't think. I don't think he would be a good fit here. He would be an older manager than Buck Showalter, and he's a little bit oddball. I wouldn't go near him. The next group of guys. And the word is the Mets are not going to be going for an internal guy. So Carlos Beltran's not going to be asked to interview. Joey Cora's not going to be asked to interview. He's the brother of Alex Cora. And Eric Chavez. Chavez and Beltran were very close with Billy Epler from his Yankee days as the assistant general manager. Beltran and Chavez played for the Yankees those years when Epler was there. And he brought them in because he liked them. Beltran at some point is probably going to leave the organization, I would think. And he's one of these guys who's a Wilpon hire, because Wilpon's hired him to be the manager after the 2019 season. I would think that at some point he'll be out of here and he'll go somewhere else. That's too bad. We want to see him get a chance to manage someplace. But those 3 guys in particular are not going to be considered managers, the manager of the team, because Dave Stearns wants an outside guy. I would hope that Stearns hires a general manager first before he hires a manager, to be honest with you. That's my own opinion. That's how I feel about it. Here's a name. It's a pretty big name, and he still has a job. That's Bob Melvin of the San Diego Padres. He's 61 years old. He's probably a doubtful candidate at this point. His name did pop up a little bit, but I could see him waiting to the end of the month and going to the Giants. That's sort of been the rumor that he's going to go to the Giants and manage there because he's close to the general manager there from their days in Oakland. So he'll probably, I would think, either stay in San Diego, who is not close with the general manager, AJ Preller, and he might go somewhere where he's more liked and respected and better thought of. Now we have a bunch of guys here. These are the same names we've heard. Joe Espada, the bench coach for the Houston Astros. Raul Ibanez, whose name popped up during the last few days. He's in the Major League front office. He's working for Major League Baseball. He's 51 years old. I don't know. He has no experience. Clayton McCullough, the bench coach for the Dodgers under Dave Roberts. Interesting candidate. I don't know much about him. I say he's interesting because he's been on some winning teams. Pat Murphy is a name. He's the bench coach for the Brewers. And he's the bench coach for Craig Counsell. 64 years old. I don't think that's the right candidate. Will Venable. He is a 40-year-old coach with the Texas Rangers. Obviously, the Rangers are still playing. He declined an interview with the Mets. He wants to stay with Texas. He's the son of former Major League player Max Venable. And Will Venable is considered a very good candidate for the future. Maybe he's going to stay in Texas and learn under Bruce Bochy and maybe take over for them in Texas. Who knows? Now, here's a new name, and I don't know much about him at all. Some of these guys I don't know much about. I don't know much about Spada other than he was a candidate the last time for the Mets, McCullough and Pat Murphy. I don't know zero. I know zero about Mark Budzinski. And he's the first base coach with the Blue Jays. I know absolutely nothing about him. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. If you know anything about it, leave a comment in the comment section. Know very, very little about him. A real unknown to me. Now, the word is if the Mets don't bring in Craig Counsell, that some of these guys that have never managed before, David Stearns will consider hiring a newbie. Now, I have here, the final name is Craig Counsell. He's currently the manager of the Brewers. His contract is up at the end of the month, which is in 10 days. His record there in Milwaukee is very impressive. He's been the manager since 2015 to 2023. He's 707 and 625, which he's above 500. As a player, he won 2 World Series. He was an NLCS MVP. He's 53 years old. He had over 1,500 hits. He played on several teams. The Diamondbacks, the Brewers, the Marlins when they were called the Florida Marlins, the Rockies, and the Dodgers. As manager of the Brewers, very impressive. He's had 3 first-place finishes, 3 second-place finishes. 6 of the 9 years he had winning seasons, and 3 of those years he had wins over 92 games. He won 96 games in 2018, 95 games in 2019, and 92 this year. 2 of those years, obviously, David Stearns was the general manager there. So keep that in mind as well. He was inherited by David Stearns, the former general manager. Doug Melvin hired Counsell, and he inherited Counsell. But it didn't seem to affect their working relationship. In fact, it seemed to enhance it over the last 5-6 years, as the Brewers have been really the class of that division, along with a bunch of other guys, a bunch of other teams like the Cardinals. They've sort of been going back and forth. Unlike this year, the Cardinals were dead last. But my feeling is, and just reading between the lines and just reading different things that I've read about Counsell the past week or two, I don't think it's a slam dunk that he comes here. He's a Wisconsin guy. He's a Midwest guy. He went to Notre Dame. He is a guy that's spent his whole career pretty much in small markets, other than a little cup of coffee with the Dodgers in the middle of his career. He's been in small markets. How would he handle being here in New York? I don't know. That's the one thing that we don't know much about. Now, SNY talked about first-timers, but they also didn't mention how Craig Counsell is not managed in a big market. And this is the biggest market, and there's a lot of pressure here, and a lot of pressure being a Mets manager. More than it is to be a Yankee manager. Notice that the Yankees have not fired their manager. And a lot of that's the external pressure that the media puts on that front office. They don't put any pressure on that front office. But they put a lot of pressure on the Mets front office and a lot of pressure on the manager here. But I would say, and just considering that Counsell is from Wisconsin, I think the Mets' chances of having him be the manager is about 65%. 65 to 35%. I think that would be where we stand right now. I could be wrong. Maybe it's 100%. Who knows? I know they're kind of taking their time. They're being very methodical who they're talking to. Obviously, they got another wait. They have to wait another week and a half. They got to wait till November 1st to officially interview Counsell, because he's still under contract with the Brewers. But it is an interesting group of guys. I mean, a lot of unknowns. But Budzinski is an unknown. Raul Banya is unknown. Joe Espada to me is an unknown. Venable was not coming yet, but he would have been an unknown. Pat Murphy at his age, unknown. McCullough, an unknown. I don't think that they will talk. Maybe they'll talk to Dusty Baker, but I highly doubt it. The one thing I will mention is Espada. I don't know how long he's been a coach there with Houston. I don't know what kind of connection he has to David Stearns. So you will see some kind of Houston, Milwaukee connection with this club. I would also mention there are guys on this coaching staff that are under contract. The pitching coach is under contract. Eric Chavez is under contract. I would assume whoever the next manager is will want his own people here. And I would think that Stearns would want his own people. I've advocated for this since the middle of the season. The Mets must fire Jeremy Hefner as pitching coach. 3 of the 4 years that he has been pitching coach, the Met pitching has been horrible. Constantly giving up home runs, constantly walking the batter, constantly walking the ballpark. Those are things that a pitching coach has a great effect on, and he has to go. That's my opinion. I don't know what you think, but he must be fired. He must go. I am not a big supporter of his, and he was a Wilpon hire. Like I said, get rid of all the Wilpon people. I'm not a believer in him as a pitching coach, and I don't think he's done a good job. And I would mention that when the Mets brought him in 2020, Jacob deGrom did not win another Cy Young. So he had a terrible September. And I didn't feel, obviously this year with all the walks, the home runs, the early runs, that is a reflection on the pitching coach, as well as this crappy pitching staff the Mets had in general. So that's how I look at it. So I would assume that anybody coming in here will want to have their own pitching coach. And I would, if it's Counsell, he'll probably bring a lot of people in from Milwaukee. And I would think that, like I said, be a little mix between Milwaukee and Houston, between the two of them. So you let me know what you think about this video. It's rather, hopefully like this. It's a little bit different. Not so many rumors. I just wanted to put a list out there of the different managers, all different managerial candidates that are out there. I'm sure there's somebody else I've not talked about. And you let me know in the comments section. Thank you for watching. Have a good day. And I'll see you later.